Here we have another alternative to trial and error. It's kind of like a mixture of the trial and error and the AC method. And then there's another little added piece in there. So how it starts off is you take your A and you multiply by your C. A is 3, C is 63. 3 times 63 is 189. The rules about the signs from that x squared plus bx plus c factoring is going to stay in place. Third term is a minus, means in my answer I'm going to have two different signs, and I'm going to have to subtract to get this plus 20. It's a positive, so the sign of the higher needs to be positive. So my factors are 189 that are again going to subtract. If this was a plus, it would be add to get my 20. So I go through my list of factors. So I'm going to use the 3 and 63 that I used to get that, 189. If I subtract those, I get a 60. Then I start playing with the factors, all the different factors of 189 until I get a match. So 7 times 27 will give me 189. And if I subtract them, I get a 20. I need the higher to be positive. So I make the 27 the plus, which by default makes the 7 the minus. If we would have needed a negative 20 instead of a positive 20, these two signs would have switched. Then I come to my parentheses. I ignore the 3 that's from the original problem in front of my x squared. I go to the x squared and just write an x and an x. I take the minus 7 from one of the factors that I found, write it in the back of the front one. I take the plus 27, which is the other factor we found, and write it in the back of the second parentheses. The 3 that we ignored, we then copy underneath the minus 7 and the plus 27. From there, we're going to clean things up. 7 over 3 is already simplified. The only thing we can do is write it as a mixed number. We're not going to write this as a mixed number. Instead, we're going to take this 3 that's in that denominator and we're going to pull it in front of the x that's in that same parentheses with it. So instead of x minus 7 over 3, we get 3x minus 7. For that second parentheses where we have x plus 27 over 3 written down, 27 over 3 cleans up to a 9. And so since I can clean that up to a whole number, that's just what I'm going to have in my final answer. So what's the difference? You're using that trial and error stuff to a certain extent. You're using all the rules you learned about it. We ignore this 3 and we're going to write it underneath the factors that we're going to find. And how we find those factors is instead of using the 63, we have to do A times C. If you have a coefficient of 1, this same stuff here works. Okay. So once I get that 189, I get the subtract because of the sign of the third term. Sign of the third term is plus, then you want to add. Find my factors that are going to subtract to give me my 189. Double check the signs to make certain it's giving me the sign that I need. For that plus 20x, throw them in the parentheses, divide by that A piece. Then clean up. If I'm left with an improper fraction, I take that denominator and I slide it out in front. Some people call it bottoms up. Some people call it something like slide and glide or something. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's just another method. Mathematically, it doesn't look like it should work, but it does because there's a piece of the puzzle that we're not writing down. That missing piece is how it ends up working.